Welcome to The Flow, hosted by Bob Martin, slightly edgy glimpses into politics, culture, society, and being human.
I want to begin with a dedication. This piece is for Kirsten Boswell, University chaplain at Elon University. She sits with grieving people and helps them find their way back to life. So, Kirsten, this one's for you and for the people in your care. Everybody asks the same question eventually. How do I get over losing someone I loved? It's the most human question there is. And the most honest answer I know begins by gently challenging the question itself, because you don't get over it. You learn to carry it differently. Now, that distinction may sound small. It isn't. The idea that grief is something to be gotten over, a problem to be solved, a wound to be closed, is one of the cruelest things our culture has handed us. It sets people up to feel like failures at the one experience that makes them most human. You're not failing at grief because you still miss someone 3 years later. You're not broken because a song, a smell, a particular quality of afternoon light can still stop you cold. You're just someone who loves somebody. The Buddhist tradition has been thinking about this longer and more honestly than most. At the center of Buddhist philosophy is a teaching called Anicca, impermanence. Everything that arises passes. Every flower, every season, every moment of joy, every person we love. Nothing in this life is built to stay. That's not pessimism. It's the most accurate description of reality anyone has ever offered. The suffering, the Buddha taught, does not come from the loss itself. It comes from the belief that we were ever going to keep what we loved forever. We build our emotional lives around the assumption of permanence in a world that has never once promised it. And here's where it gets helpful. Because if impermanence is the nature of all things, then grief is not a malfunction. It is the appropriate response to being alive in a world where everything you love is also mortal. To grieve is to have loved something real. The two are not separable. You don't get the love without eventually getting the grief. They are the same thing, moving in different directions. Which brings me to the most precise description of grief that I've ever encountered. And I say that as someone who has spent time in clinical practice sitting across from people in the middle of it. Grief is love with nowhere to go. Say that again with me. Grief is love with nowhere to go. When someone dies, the love does not die with them. That's the thing that nobody warned you about. The love is still there, fully intact, still reaching towards someone who is no longer reachable. That ache, that specific quality of longing that loss produces, is not the presence of something wrong. It is the presence of something real. It is love doing what love does, looking for its person. The question then becomes not how to stop the love, which would be its own kind of death, but how to find it somewhere to go, how to find it somewhere to go. Some people find that in ritual, lighting a candle, visiting a place that mattered, saying the name out loud when the culture around them has gone quiet and moved on. Ritual is not superstition. It is the human soul insisting that love does not require a living body to have somewhere to go, somewhere to land. Some people find it in conversation, talking about the person they lost with anyone willing to listen. Not to process the grief clinically, but simply to keep the person present just a little longer. There's a profound wisdom in Jewish Shiva or Irish wakes, in cultures that gather and tell stories and say the name repeatedly. The modern American instinct to grieve privately and quickly and then return to productivity is not strength, it is loneliness dressed up as resilience. Some people find it in the living, loving more consciously the people still here, letting the lost teach them what the ordinary moments are actually worth. And it is something that the busy, distracted, pre-grief version of themselves could not fully see. Grief has a way of burning off the noise, of making you look at the people in front of you, really look, in a way you maybe didn't before. Now, that's not a silver lining. It's just one of the things loss leaves behind when it moves through you. None of these are cures. There is no cure. But there is something that happens over time when grief is met with patience and honesty rather than pressure and silence. The memories that once cut begin slowly to warm. The absence that once felt like a hole in the center of everything begins to feel more like a presence carried quietly alongside everything. The person does not return, but they do not entirely leave either. In Buddhist teaching, there's a practice of dedicating merit. I find it very helpful. The good that you do in your life offered consciously towards someone you have loved and lost. It's a way of saying your love is still active, still moving, still finding its way towards something. You stop and breathe and say silently, internally, I have just been generous, loving, kind, helpful, caring. I've just eased someone's suffering. I've just brought joy to someone. I have just treated myself lovingly. I dedicate this merit to you, my loved one. You will never completely get over someone you truly loved, nor should you. Think about what that goal would even require. It would require you to stop loving them. And that's not healing. It's just a different kind of loss. The goal was never to arrive at a place where they no longer matter. The goal is to arrive at a place where their absence and their presence can coexist inside you, where you can hold what was lost and what was given in the same hand without it destroying you. That is not the end of grief. It is grief grown wise. Be patient with yourself on the way there. The wound touched by real love takes time to become gentle again. I'm Bob Martin. This is the flow. In order to go with the flow, you have to understand the flow.